Oh, hello. I didn't hear you come in. My name is Jay. I was just harvesting some Senzu beans from my garden.
Jay, did you say Senzu beans?
That's my brother John. This Senzu bean will give him mystical wisdom. Here, John, catch. Today we're going to be talking about the only successful movie franchise to last more than 20 movies. No, we will not be talking about Land Before Time. We're talking, of course, of James Bond.
Which James Bond is the best? The franchise that has 23 movies in it, one wannabe franchised movie. It's hard to go in much detail in the short amount of time that we have in our Senzu bean garden.
In many regards, each Bond was perfect for their day and age. Sean Connery did a great job for the 60s, but we're not going on opinions anymore. We're going for the facts.
Which Bond is the best? You're really taking in a mouthful. It depends on you. What do you think is the best as a spy? Who is the most perverted? Who is the most deadly? Who is the most clever? All these could go into factors. And if you said, well, this is the only factor that matters the most to me, then there you have your answer. To figure out who is the best, I think you have to compile a lot of factors into consideration and say, okay, looking at all these, who is the best James Bond?
Today we'll be focusing specifically on these factors. Number one, which Bond was the deadliest?
How well did they use their license to kill?
Then we're going to be looking at which Bond was the most resourceful. Which one was the best with people skills, the quality of the movies they were in, and their overall cleverness as a spy.
And then as a mark of something that makes them less spy-like, we're going to throw in the luck factor.
So let's begin with the first category, and that is deadliness.
In this category of deadliness isn't as subjective as the rest, because we can look at every movie and figure out how many people each Bond killed, and thus figuring out who used their license to kill the most.
Let's run a quick kill count of each Bond. Winner by far on that one was Pierce Brosnan, doubling the amount of kills of the other Bond per movie ratio.
As they revamped the James Bond franchise, Pierce Brosnan didn't just kill a few more people per movie, he went crazy. Some of the people I think he just killed for fun. Hey, I've got kids. Doesn't matter.
I know, that's what I did when I played the video game.
Hey, scientists. Oh, you're not so tough. Take that. That's how it was. So, deadliness, Pierce Brosnan.
Alright, now let's move on to cleverness as a spy. Number one goes to Timothy Dalton. He's able to stay alive in the villain's lair while still keeping his cover. You look how he has to sneak around and stay aloft this entire time.
He pulls that girl's shirt off.
Very clever. Being cool under pressure, always having a quick disguise, and being able to be the most stealthy. In most of his movies, he's found sneaking around and having to actually be a spy for most of the movie. Whereas the rest is kind of like, get captured, seduce the women, do something, get out, and you're good. Timothy Dalton doesn't get caught.
Quality of movies. Timothy Dalton, he only did 2 movies, which were both great movies. One thing that perhaps none of the other James Bonds could say, that they didn't do a bad James Bond movie.
Now for resourcefulness as a spy, unfortunately we had to knock a lot of points down for Pierce Brosnan for his heavy use of gadgets.
We counted for resourcefulness, we said, well, you can't count it as being very resourceful to say, oh, hey, here come some bad guys. Let me go invisible in my car, and maybe I'll machine gun them.
Every time he was in a tough situation, the gadget saved his life.
Hidden assets.
Is death for breakfast?
Number 1 goes to Daniel Craig. Big surprise. He hardly had any gadgets to work with. Look at this scene in Skyfall where he has to have MacGyver his own little booby traps. Home Alone style.
Luckiness for a spy is a bad thing. We're basing this all on skill.
Half of everything is luck, James.
It shows a lack of your skill. How come your skill couldn't get you through this? And we're judging based off of skill who is the best spy.
I admire your luck.
The luckiest person out of all of them was Roger Moore. He was lucky his villains that he was fighting against had class.
I could have shot you down when you landed, but that would have been ridiculously easy.
He was lucky in The Man with the Golden Gun. Lucky there was a dummy there that had a gun that for some crazy reason was loaded and that he could go swap it. He was just lucky.
For people skills, number 1 goes to the king of class himself, Sean Connery. I mean, half the time, the villains don't kill him just because he's such a likable guy. And I mean, the women, they don't stand a chance.
Well, enjoy yourself.
Sean Connery had such people skills, he turned a lesbian into a Bond girl.
Provided this scene does kind of look like a rape charge.
Let me just throw this out there real quick. As you notice, out of our 6 categories, every James Bond character won something except for George Lazenby. Poor George. The award we give him is for the biggest pervert. Here he is playing a gay person. Uses the same line to sleep with 2 different people right before he marries this mob boss's daughter. Yeah, I could tell he loved her. A playboy? Pervert. So there, happy George Lazenby, you got the perverted Bond award.
This never happened to the other fella.
Pierce Brosnan, if you want a spy that's deadly, that's good for a first-person shooter game, Pierce Brosnan's your Bond. If you want a spy that can seduce women half his age, then Roger Moore's the Bond for you.
Oh, you guys just don't enjoy the classic Bonds. Wrong. No one's watched those old movies as much as we have. Wrong.
You are so wrong!
We have watched the movies. We love them and appreciate them more than anybody. But the numbers don't lie. They are what they are.
Sean Connery, although I love you and some other of your roles, your Bond movies were not your best. Anyone that picks Sean Connery just because he's the classic one has not seen the movies. But now, looking completely objectively at the numbers, the winner and the best James Bond actor is
Timothy Dalton.
For the best overall well-rounded spy that is resourceful, clever, quick on his feet, and good with a gun, and hand-to-hand combat.
Bond, James Bond.
It may not be the popular pick. A lot of people forget that he was a Bond actor.
You see that? Gone such a short time, already forgotten.
Well, with Daniel Craig, his time as James Bond isn't over. And you look at the past, and Sean Connery, his first 3 movies were great. But then afterwards, he hated being James Bond, and his following movies really showed his lack of effort. And so the same thing could happen to Daniel Craig.
You don't have to worry about me.
This is the wisdom the Senzu bean speaks to us.
Those are the facts.
Timothy Dalton, you are always welcome in the Senzu bean garden.
Till the next bean is ready, I'm Jay.
And I'm John.